with some noise on the way out, and put your hand on your heart if you want to, or just feel the vibration, either vibrating anxiety off or vibrating love in, or a combination of both, mixed with a bunch of other stuff. So, breathe in. Another deep breath. One more really nice deep breath. Good morning. So, our favorite part, the announcements. So what's the announcements? Today we're continuing our last three talks are kind of married together. You'll see that. Maybe you won't, but we'll see. We'll put them together for you, including next week. Tonight, for Diversity Night, we're going to have a little workshop, the Way Through workshop teaser. It's going to be kind of a little bit of a mini workshop. So if you've ever done it before, come on out so you can show people what it looks like. And if you've never done it before, come on out and see what it looks like. And it's guaranteed to be different and interesting and have you look into you. And that's really all this workshop weekend is about. Margie's been doing it for years. Scott and I have been doing it for years, collectively, separately, together, and always on ourselves in the moment. And it's that inward look. And one of the things we always talk about with the workshop is just about discovering what's in between you and you being you. So there may be a plethora of things, there may be one main thing, and that's what discovery is about. So we invite you to come on out for that tonight. Next week is Easter, so we're not going to have doing a diversity night next week. We're going to have our service in the morning, and then just, I'm sure people are going to be with families and whatnot. Wednesday's Course in Miracles. We're still going to keep trying this. And last week was chatting with Kathleen and Mark, which we enjoyed. So, but we could do that on our own if we want to. We both live in Port St. John and Taylor, so we won't have to come up here to do that. So put the word out. I forgot to make an event last week, but I put it on the pod page, but I'll make an event today for it. And if you see interest or hear people go, oh, it's Wednesday, or give me that feedback. It's like if we want to switch it to a Tuesday, whatever, or Monday, since we have drumming, or we'll figure it out. We can drum in Course in Miracles and feel the vibes. So I'll put an event out for that and draw that interest. Drumming is Tuesdays, every second and fourth Tuesday of every month with Fred Goodnight. Abraham is on hiatus right now until Jan gets better, so I haven't heard any word about when that's going to be restarting, but I'm sure as soon as she's feeling up to it, we'll have Abraham's on the fourth Fridays. Correct? Fourth? Okay, last week for Diversity Night, we played the game, and it was really fun, and I want to do it again with more people, especially now we got our feet wet a little bit. It was, yes, Jerry?
Where do we find this game?
I looked it up online. Session. Yeah, xthegame.com.
No St. Allen.
App. You can actually download it on your phone and play it.
But the cards are so pretty though.
Yeah, I have it on the app.
How is it?
We did a talk, me, myself, and I, and us, did a talk of whenever it was, recently in the past, but soon, about the Oracle Within. Okay, I forget when it was a few months ago. And that game was like that, on an individual basis, and everybody else became each other's oracles during the game. And even if it was something where like the card goes, oh, I guess that was for me, not for you, there was still something in it for you too, because you got that insight anyway. It's like, oh, I guess it wasn't for me. It was like, well, I wanted that. So you grab whatever you want from it, and it's really neat because it's always about discovering. My biggest mantra here is that it's an inside job, and that God's fine, your spirit's fine. It's the human being that needs the work. And these kind of things help that. It helps discover what parts of us need the work. So I think we'll be bringing that back soon and beefing it up more so we can have more people, or like you were suggesting, have a couple different tables going on, and like, we'll call it the game night, eats and poker chips or whatever. But anyway, I just really had a blast with that, and I think everybody else here did too. So I really want to pump that up again to, recreate that and make it more. Okay. Okay, I was wondering, is that where we're at now? So the very last Sunday of April, April 30th, we're going to have for our diversity night, our annual meeting. It's going to be a potluck type scenario. I call it the State of the Union. You know, tell us where we've been throughout the year, what we're wanting, and to bring that you here that wants to be more part of it and to be in this community and active doing it, even if it's for that meeting saying, I have an idea. Everybody's level of activity is different. So come, bring your wisdom, bring your joy, bring your celebratory self, because it's also our kind of like picnic. So we're going to be, it might go a little longer than just the normal hour and a half diversity night. Potluck again, potluck, because everybody here loves potluck. I knew you said something that we were going to ask somebody to talk about. There's next Saturday.
Sunday after Easter, that Sunday night, Thursday night.
Cool. So for Earth Day, which is around the 22nd, yeah, Becky is going to do the diversity night talk on eagles, which is cool because I always like when Becky talks about the biology stuff and everything that she gets to do, and it's appropriate day for Earth Day, so that'll be fun. You're going to do a presentation too, and so I knew it. Yeah, so Philip, you're on notice with me. He's like, yeah, it's easy. That's exciting. I like that. So that's the week after Easter, and the Saturday before, we're going to do another marketing meeting. We're going to let Shannon come up and talk a little bit about at what 9:30. They always do things so early. Teasing.
I think it was okay. Oh.
I'm the only night owl.
You're the night owl. So this is a great opportunity to also help the pod grow, but learn at the same time about social media. We invite people to bring a laptop, iPad if that's best for you, or if you're not into any of that, just come with your phone because there's lots of things that we need support with to get the word out. Anything? 9:30. I think we did 2 hours or 12. Yeah, 9:30 to 12. Is that right? Okay.
If you want, bring breakfast pop-up.
Yeah, we brought snacks. Yeah, you can bring snacks. Yeah, and it's a lot of fun. We pull out a table. We're all sitting there working on different projects, and just the energy of coming together to support it, I know it does great things.
That's the biggest part of it. Yeah. Facebook stuff, which I still think I got it, and then I'll make a post like I updated our workshop for the way through flyer. It didn't make it. I just found out. So whatever. I'll get more training on that. Announcements. Anything else I can think that you can think of?
For the annual meeting, that's April 30th, we're also going to try to encourage people that, to bring people that are interested. It's also going to be
Our sign
meet the pod.
and membership meeting
Right,
too.
membership, we'll get everybody to re-sign membership forms, but we gotta do that every year legally. And so if you know people that are interested, or just get the word out, share it on your Facebook page, and we'll have brochures that we can hand people that aren't familiar with us.
Right on. So let's get back into ourselves. How about another nice deep breath and just breathe into this moment. All the moments before are already gone, no matter what time it is. So for the past few weeks, I've been kind of marrying these talks together, whether you've been realizing it or not. And I kind of did it with where we are in the season. So happy Palm Sunday, by the way, for those who embraced that day. And remember what this week was about as the story went. And as we walk into Holy Week in the Christian philosophy and all the different things that we've learned through the modalities of our Christian belief system. I've done different talks entitled Solstice of Suns, where we've married the different stories of Jesus to the astro, the cosmos, and where some of these stories were cosmic stories and lessons of the human condition and that rise and that fall, and how they mirror and marry with the cosmos themselves and how we're traveling in the universe. So cosmically, last couple of weeks ago, we talked about past lives, present lives, and the dimensions of you. We talked about all that groovy cosmic stuff and how sometimes past people think that time is stacked in in stacks chronologically, as opposed to being on one plane, to where we can experience anything we want in the now, and that we are experiencing it all in the now. And if I wanted to tap into, or as I invited us to look at, go into a room within ourselves and peek through a window of a different experience of our incarnation, and that we're all incarnated as one, with all the different eyeballs experiencing and viewing this lifetime. So then, as we talked about in the dimensions, we talked about, being able to change just from shifting, and how we've done that in different ways in our own selves, just by breathing, just by shaking it off. We've done it in so many different ways. I'm going to go take a shower and just rinse this day off. All the different things we've done to shift our own dimensions when we didn't even realize that we were shifting dimensions. And that as we talk about this create your own reality universe, that the reality we're creating, they're all there already all the time. It's about what reality am I focused on? What window am I peering through? And right now I've been peering through the window of Mark Pasqualino mostly. And some of the Mark Pasqualino windows I've been peering through have been joyous, and some of them have been morose. And at any one given time or another, I get stuck in a window, as we all do. So then last week, I invited us to celebrate the you in me. Before we went and celebrated our Genghis Khan self, or our Joan of Arc self, or all those wonderful selves we have been and are, to celebrate the people that you incarnated with on the planet at this time, which was an on-purpose thing. I don't care if you met somebody one time, you bumped into them on purpose in this incarnation. Remember, 7.5 billion people on the planet. I'm not going to get to meet them all as Mark Pasqualino, but I will as Becky and Scott and Jerry and Kim and Margie and Charlene and Debbie and blah, blah. I just want to leave anybody out, and everybody. When I am willing to celebrate the you and me, then I get to meet everybody you've met. I get to experience all the things that you've experienced when I'm willing to get out of the way of my own ego, competition, comparison, anything that fear may place in front of me to have me think that you're over there and I'm over here and we're separate. So I invited us to look at that for the last week, to look at that I am statement that Moses heard so long ago. And as we look at that Christian philosophy and all those different things, I am in you and you are in me and we are one with the Father, and all those different groovy things that Jesus talked about, along with some of the masters of his time and around his time, before his time and after his time, there's been a constant common theme amongst most cultures that we're all connected. And in the Hindu belief system, reincarnation is like, yeah, right up there. It's like, yes, yes, yes. But they still have a little bit of that separation too in the dogma part of it. But the big picture is to tell us we're all one. Now, as I, in myself, have evolved beyond some of the notions of reincarnation, I've noticed that even in my own lifetime, I've reincarnated. I've had different lives within my lives. For example, I've talked about TTP or my near-death stuff here and there, sometimes a lot, sometimes not enough. But for this perspective, that was a past life for me, because I have two completely different emotional, mental, spiritual, physical lives. And that was before TTP and after TTP. And so many different selves that I had to say goodbye to, that some of them I'm still to this day in my humanness clinging on to. So this week, as we marry into what's going on with the philosophy of the Christian religion and what was going to happen in Holy Week, we kind of look at that place and tell the story of ourself. Take that story and imprint it inside. All the followers, yeah, you're groovy, you're right, it's going to be the way it goes, you're the one. All the people inside going, I think you're getting too loud, man. Remember, we're occupied. Don't say too much, they'll crucify us. To the parts of us that know there's something bigger but's afraid and doubting, to the parts of us that are so afraid of what the occupation is going to say about this, the brain, that they betray us. It would have been a really boring Jesus story if Judas didn't exist. So that betrayal had to happen, but it's lending to who's betraying me inside and who needs to take that role so that I can move on. So when we look at this week's talk, changes and saying goodbye to old selves, and bring it into the dimension of dimensions. When I want to shift a dimension, if I want to shift a reality, if I want a change, I said that whole sentence backwards, but it's okay. Because what I'm saying, if I want to change, is that I want to shift dimensions and I want to shift reality. So if I want to shift my reality into a different reality, it only makes logical and metaphysical sense that I say goodbye to the previous one. No harm, no foul. No grief, no good, no bad. I'm moving into this reality because it's a better reality than the other one. I bet you don't go far because you're still stuck. And I'm a little bit in a circle of that right now, even in the wisdom of what I know and what will come out of me. You know, I'm real good at admitting I have brick walls in my life that I bump into. And sometimes it's like that old wind-up toy that you put right in front of the wall, and it just keeps going boom, 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 boom until it finally wears out, which is what I think the sleep apnea is about. But anyway, we all have that sometimes. And it's like, how do I change the dimension of something if I'm unwilling to let go of where I've been? How do I get cool if I'm unwilling to let go of being hot? And that may sound weird, you know, but for me, there's been many times I've stayed hot because I kept affirming how hot I was. And that's a silly little example, but it's true. And sometimes I can cool myself off if I just sit down for a minute, breathe, and go, I want to be cool, and quit worrying about how hot I am. And owning that I am in that moment hot, but I also am cool. I've told this story before about how the power of the mind goes. I was living with a friend of ours named Christina, and she had a pool outside. There was turtles in it and stuff, but whatever. I didn't swim there. I just went out and hung out in the sun. I was all into these guided meditations at the time. And sometimes I'll give you guys a guided meditation. Most of the times I like planting a seed and letting you go. But this, I was at the very beginning, and there was no planting seeds. There was a nap was going to happen if I didn't have a guided meditation. It's just going to be a nap in the yoga position or whatever. So anyway, I'm laying out on the pool deck, and I got my stereo, and this is when speakers are all like this big. So I got them all like right out at the door, and I'm laying on the Chase Lounge, and it's summer, and it's hot, sweating myself off. So I'm listening to this guided meditation. He's got me, you know, focusing, going into the thing and the vortex and all this fun stuff. But I'm hot. So I have a side meditation going on. Whereas I'm listening to him, I'm saying, you're cool. You're cool. And it was working. And I was cool. And it was hot. But I felt the warmth of the sun, but I was cool. And it was cool. And I enjoyed it. And I'm listening to him, and I'm listening to him, and then all of a sudden he starts saying, and now you feel a warm energy coming from your body, flowing down your legs, warmth, 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 warmth. Within 10 seconds, I was sweating my butt off and back inside in the air conditioning, listening to the rest of the meditation. And what dimensions were I in? Yeah, I'm in a physical 3D world, and yes, you can do me physical harm right now in this illusory body that I'm in. And you may also see like things leaking from this body. I'm not trying to be morose. And then see this body fall to the ground and cease to function. And you may think I'm done. You may think I'm dead. I may think that I'm so emotionally attached to the human physical forms that if that happened to you, like it has to some of the yous in our lives, we mourn and grieve and say goodbye. We do it. We know the process. We know the merits of the process, but we don't seem to want to allow ourselves to do it. And that's part of what I think the whole Jesus story was about for us too, was to let yourself go through this, to let yourself be betrayed by what you thought was the truth, and then find another way to see, and then open your eyes for the different experience. The dimensions of me, the dimensions of you have changed in the moments we've been together. I can't count the number of times we've all walked in and out of different dimensions and didn't realize it with each other. And I've likened it to the moments where we were mad or flustered with something and we on purposely said, you know what, I'm not going to let this ruin my day. And then we shifted though. And then we went up to somebody else. And then by virtue of that shift or that wanting or that agreement you just made with the universe to look at a different window, all of a sudden somebody showed up to support that reality. A moment before the shift, the person that showed up might have been somebody to antagonize that moment for you or to keep you in that reality of truth. Because you're right, always. We're always right, actually. I'm miserable. You're right, you are. Wow, look at you. You're in misery. I happen to be over here right now in joy. Sometimes people, oh, he's miserable. I'm going to walk over here because I'm in joy. I would say that they would still have an opportunity to look through their misery window and own it differently because they're not, if they have to walk away from it. I don't have to get sucked up into it either. I could just go groovy. Want to hug? Want to hold hands, want to watch a movie, want to go to the park, want to fill in the blank instead of walking away from it. Now, if somebody's physically hurting you in this world because they're so distraught in their mental, emotional health, obviously you're allowed to walk away. But I believe that if we're in that dimension, purity, man, we can change them in that moment with that hug or love or just look of love in their eyes, seeing through the eyes of your home, shifting the dimensions for both of you right there. We can help people. We can be portals for people. We can take them through the gate. I know people who have taken me through both gates, joy ones and misery ones. Now, I did follow. Blindly or willingly, man, he's like a totally miserable guy. That's exactly how I feel. He does it better than I do. I'm going to go follow him because he's like put miserable to a T. There's a comedian. He's the one that shouts a lot, not the old guy, Sam Kinison. I think it's Lewis Black. And he's got this one, and he's always like one of them cranky comedians that's angry all the time. He goes, you ever notice how in your neighborhood growing up as a kid, it was the oldest as dirt person in your neighborhood was that guy that screamed at the end of his driveway to not touch his driveway? He goes, I think I found the answer to immortality. I'm just going to be a cranky bleep the rest of my life. And thinking about it, those people, they seem to just go on and on and on forever. But my point is, like, he determined in that moment playfully that universe is going to make him live longer. So he hung out in it. There's a survival mechanism within us that keeps us in a certain dimension. Fear works in that survival mechanism and says, if you love and be vulnerable, you're going to die. You won't live as long. But if you're angry and shielded and guarded, you'll live forever. Oh, okay, well, let me. And then that's the dimension that we bring ourselves. And if we want to change anything about ourselves, we have to leave that whole realm. It's a realm. You ever see that word realm a lot? How often does that come up in your conversation? We hear it in Bible talk. We hear it in fairy talk, like fairy tales and storybooks, stuff like that. They went to the realm of joy or the Storybrooke Village or whatever. But it's a realm that we're all in. And what realm do you want to live in? And if you want to change your neighborhood, you have to say goodbye. That's the part right there, is the saying goodbye. I've still have to say goodbye to things, to people, to where you're like, goodbye, hello, don't leave. Wait a minute, they already left. Goodbye. And that gamut, that game we play back and forth, emotionally trying to let go of something, it doesn't mean that you let go of the love or the memory, even if it's of your own incarnation. Do I love my Joan of Arc self? Never met her. Haven't had the experience of my Joan of Arc self, except through the stories of what others have told me. And I think, wow, that's a really neat part of me. But am I willing to like embrace that Hitler self as well? And know that that's there too? and what aspects that I want to bring to the game in this carnation, and know that all I have to do is say goodbye to them. Know that they exist. It's all blessed under the ethers. It's not as much good or bad as about light and dark and positive and negative and just the duality of this paradigm of existence. But if I want to experience the Joan of Arc side of life instead of the Hitler side of life, I got to say goodbye to somebody. That's why I'm being ridiculously my extremes, because I'm telling you, within you lives both, and a plethora of more. Now, sometimes we're like, man, there's all these terms, ego deflation at depth, killing off the cells. I'm like, golly, man, just emotional growth work is scary. I don't want to die. The survival mechanism kicks in and says, no, I will look through this window then only. And only this 3D window that I can touch and be tangible, because I'm not doing any of that emotional work because I'll die. Or mental work even. What if it's a change my way I do things? We were just talking about the computer. I've always done this, so that's the way I'm going to do it. Well, you getting the results you want? No. We've heard the definition of insanity is something that blah, 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 doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. So what about the insane realities then? If I'm in an insane reality, that means I'm looking through the same window over and over, believing the same thing, and expecting the same thing to show up, and saying hello to that same thing every morning. I'm saying, good morning to you, reality. I embrace you. Here we go. This is what I believe we're going to have. And if I've been having somebody walk with me the whole way that I was going, you're going to fall in the hole. You're going to fall in the hole. You're going to fall in the hole. I might go, dude, enough. You know what? I love you, brother, but I'm going to have to say goodbye. And that's a simple little ridiculous example. But what if it was something real serious? Have you ever had a human being in your life that was on such a downward spiral that you had to walk away? You had to say goodbye. So I'm using it as an example that we can relate to emotionally, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a downward spiral thing. It doesn't have to be perceived as negative or bad. We could just want, what Scott always says, the more. So without invalidating everything I've ever been and am and are together, I am also allowed to be more. So that means I may have to let go of what was right before me. Well, I don't need to grow anymore because everything is fine. And I'm not even talking about the freaked out, insecure, and emotional acronym. I mean, I'm okay. I feel great. I like my life. Great. But do you want more? Yes. Then you got to say goodbye to what's right here now. And that's what we're so afraid of. We're afraid to let go. I'm afraid to let go. I'll own it as me. None of you have this. I'm the only human in the world that has this condition. So please help me. Thank you. So if I'm wanting to be into a different dimension, change, what do I have to say goodbye to? And that's where I'm going to leave you guys for a minute. To pair up with each other, to pick, it could be three. It doesn't have to be a one-on-one thing. It'd be three people, two, or the math. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Perfect. So you can go in groups of 5, groups of 2. I like to be playful. But take a few minutes on this one. And before you even do that, with each other, whoever you pick is fine, you need to go in here first. You need to go inside for a minute first. I recommend you go inside for a minute first and talk to that person or discover, what do I want changed? And who or what do I have to say goodbye to? And then we'll talk about that a little more. Because as I say that, for me, in my perception, I can see different energies pop up of, who do I have to shit can in my life? Who's not going to be able to play with us anymore? And it doesn't necessarily mean that. It could be behaviorally. I can still keep all the wonderful personalities within me and say goodbye to the aspect that thinks negative. And give them, him, her, they, a new job in this new dimension. They get to come along with us. So you're not necessarily saying goodbye to a part of yourself. You're saying goodbye to a pattern in yourself. Let me implant that. So you can play airy fairy music in the background lightly if you choose. And how you like that? And then you guys could do it with each other. It doesn't matter if you know them, not know them, married, not married. That's up to you to challenge yourself the way you want to. And I will take a break and get my voice.
This is something like an art, for instance. Yes, exactly. Work extra hard, extra good, and thinking of
Yeah, exactly. So why am I doing this? There's a difference between myself and
how would you describe how you are in this
It's negative emotions. I stop instead of see what is it that I feel like what this is. But I will no longer be feel that she has
Recognize who's in you is going to be betrayed by this new one thing.
You know, and sometimes I don't want to work today, so I feel lately it's like this is where my son's a nice city. But you're very curious and I'm not so you need to learn how to address things and hard. You step back, I actually tried that. That's why I said, no, we don't have yeah.
I've been working on something I love. But I find that with my family,
About 1 more minute.
I have this thing that like I'm going to have more time. I'm gonna make these decisions, I'm gonna tell you how I think you do this. And I had this stuff happen. Most of the time you get right. You're not letting them have the wiggle room to figure some things out. Great part of myself, try it on. You think you know what's best. Most of the things I know what's best are from mistakes I make. You know? So I would say my most recent activity of trying to change my reality is to put me in the traffic.
So Jared, sounds like we need to wrap it up with each other. And say thank you to your brother or sister. All right, if everybody wants to bring it back, we can. Thank you. Hugs are allowed. And that's just the beginning. I mean, whenever we do these exercises here in the morning, they're just beginnings. I invite you to take it further and do the more with this kind of work. So, a question for anybody. When I first said, all right, talk about with your partner what changes you want to make and who or what behaviors you have to say goodbye to, how did that feel in your body, that concept, that notion? Just anybody.
And there's this episode where this woman named Edith Keeler on this planet, and she has 2 death dates. And Kirk was trying to save her from the one death date, but Spock found out that if she had lived, she would have died X amount of years, but all these other changes would have occurred. So, Kirk's wrestling with it, and Spock's like, Edith Keeler must die. And that's a tagline.
remember the episode.
Yeah, and that's a tagline that I use with my son, you know, whenever we have those kind of sort of Damocles discussion, well, Edith Keeler must die. But that's how I feel every time. It's like, okay, here's the sacrifice, and there's gonna be repercussions. And is the transient pain worth, which costs more, the transient pain of dealing with that, or the long-term pain of letting something ride out?
Right on, right on. Anybody else have a perspective of how it felt to just think about saying goodbye or having to let go of a certain aspect of yourself or your behaviors, which also means a thought pattern, mindset?
Yeah, I'm kind of going through the refiner's fire a little bit. This last year of being with the pod has opened me up to myself in a lot of ways. And it seems like I'm always working on something. And I was telling her right now my deal is to quit directing traffic with my family. You know, I know I'm the oldest one in the family. I know this, I know that. Learn from me. And instead of just relaxing and letting people be. And so what's happening this week is all my family, except for one, is here in Brevard County. So I'm really gonna be put through the test. And can I just kick back and enjoy people without thinking I need to tell them how to make their lives better? That's a tough one for me. I mean, I'm a former social worker and all that, you know, so it's something it's a lesson I need. It's a reality that I need to just step aside and just be, you know.
Right on. Anybody else?
Oh no, I don't know if I'm the only one, but there's a part of me that just thinks like, I don't want to be told what to do.
Okay, so I think you tapped into this next aspect, because that's what I was going to ask you next. Was then I came up here and I said, now, who gets betrayed in you or feels betrayed by what you just said you want to have or let go of? So when I asked that question, how did that land? And that's part of what I think, I'm guessing, happened in you. That person was feeling betrayed. I don't want to be told what to do, and I may be wrong. So what things came up when I threw that aspect into it of who in you gets the kiss by Judas, and how'd they feel about it? Harder one to tap into. Diane.
Can I share what you said about, can I share here? I really like what Charlene did, because, I mean, I was thinking it would be like a human person that you would be, you know, sort of betraying, or maybe whatever. And she immediately said, oh, you know, my anxiety, and she personified her anxiety, and I immediately got like this visual, this like little gremlin that's just, you know, entrenched and yeah, he's gonna be having a really bad day when she, you know, says, no, out of here. And I just love that.
Exactly. And all the different selves in us, it's like you perfectly put. It's because every single feeling, notion, thought, idea can be personified and brought to animation with a different self, or even like the word, and then personify the word as you use the word gremlin. And to know that there's a betrayal going on in there about them. So they're going to have a feeling about, I don't want to be told what to do as well. And then, but we're wanting to shift. So we can't just say it and then go, because we have other people holding us back. The ones that aren't, my anxiety prevents me from shifting to some of the dimensions I want to shift in. And sometimes we have to have a conversation. Sometimes I have to hug it, and sometimes I need to say, you need to leave the field. There's too many men on the diamond. You know, too many players on the field. These are the rules. 9 men for baseball, 11 for football, right? 5 for basketball. I don't know how many hockey. 9? 5 for hockey? There's only 5 people on a hockey? I don't know. I don't watch it. I can't keep up with the puck is the real reason I don't want. But the thing is, somebody's got to go. There can't be so many players on the field at the same time, because the ref will blow the whistle, foul, the whole game stops until the right number of players. Well, sometimes it happens within us. So it's not saying you can never play, because sometimes the person that hey, Bob, I need you out and I need Fred in. Sit down. And then Bob feels betrayed and rejected and dejected and unworthy and unwelcome and just thinks, nobody wants me on the team. We needed you for the first quarter because you come out strong and you gave us a big margin to be ahead. Now you take a rest and I'm going to bring in second string. I'm going to bring in somebody else for their gifts. And when we can look at it in a different way and know that all these people that I think or that are feeling betrayed because I say I want to do something different now, and we simply say goodbye, so long, or see you later, see you in the next moment, or if you're going to come into this next dimension with us, you are getting a promotion. And do that to them. You can promote your anxiety, promote your fear, promote your sadness. There's many ways to look at it. I'm just thinking of some of them while we're here together talking in the moment. But it's like we want to be in a new place, just like if I want to move into a new house. Sometimes, have you ever noticed how when you move, all the stuff you've been living with, and now you start packing, and you start tossing crap out. That's what I'm talking about. Those people that just don't serve, or the aspects of us that just don't serve the new house, the new reality. Now, you don't have to when I clean out my house when I'm moving, damn you trash, and I never want to see you again. No, you just throw it out. And you know what? It's just taking up space. I don't need it anymore. Thanks. Oh, look at that. Energy was different. Oh, wow, look at all the space I have. God, I feel free and clear and new, which we'll be talking about more next week. This is more about understanding that we got to say goodbye to something without killing it. It doesn't, see, I brought this whole, married it together with the season because the story goes that they put the guy on the cross after the betrayal. And I'm saying that that's what we're used to doing, is putting those parts of us on the cross. Crucify him, they must die, gone with them. And I'm like, well, there's an ultimate story about getting off the cross and rising again. That's a big part of that picture. It's like, yeah, do the demon work. Come tonight and we'll give you a preview. Do the demon work. Go inside and do the things that you need to do to heal and change that fear dimension back into a love dimension, and know that there was going to be a crucifixion that happened, but it was more metaphoric than physical. You do not have to die. And we already did the talk to conquer death. You only have to die. Let the metaphoric dance be it so that you don't have to die in yourself anymore. Let that story, whether it happened as it was written, verbatim, or it was a metaphor to teach us about this part of ourselves and the cycle of ourselves, coming into a new cycle. So it's only natural for, as I'm coming into a new cycle, for me to notice all the shadow parts. Right before dawn, it's really, really, really dark. And it's okay. If you curse the darkness, you might not see the joy of the sunrise. So within myself, if I want to shift to that next dimension of light, if I'm going to sit there from what's sunrise right now and sunset, say 8 o'clock at night. If I'm going to sit there at 8 o'clock at night, every night, and just complain and complain and curse and curse and curse until the sun comes up the next morning, and then say, now I'm right, I've missed something. But I can let go of the darkness and let go of all the fears that came in that darkness when the sun comes up again, and I said, I thought that was a boogeyman. It was only the shadow of that branch against the wall. And how many shadows have we got reflecting inside of us that we think is the boogeyman, and it's actually our own garden at night with certain lighting hitting it a certain way that casts a shadow a certain way that just scared the bejesus out of us when we walked by at midnight. But it was the same thing that brought you pleasure at noon when the sun hit those flowers and it just glistened. Well, that'd probably be in the morning with the dew and stuff, but whatever, who cares what time it is, but it's light, that's the point. The science came in there for a minute and said, well, Mark, by noon, all the moisture would be evaporated. I'm like, that's where my brain gets in my way sometimes. But I can lovingly let go of that and shift. And in that moment, he almost felt betrayed. It's like, what? Isn't my math valid? Isn't my science valid? Sure, science guy. We're going to say goodbye to you right now. Sit down and let's talk to this guy. See, we think sometimes that when we say goodbye, that means there'll never be another hello. Even when we say goodbye to dead people. It's like, my recent loss is August now, and it's like, what, really, already? But it's my brother, and that's a hard one, man. It's my brother. That's a hard one. We were that, as far as we were apart in belief system, in mindset sometimes, it was only 3 years apart. We grew up together. We're like Nikki and Mark and Nikki. And that goodbye has been hard. But the more I've been willing to say goodbye, and the more I've been doing this grieving process, which still hurts, other hellos are happening. Hellos of another memory. Hello of that time we did this. That's a hello. If I get a thought and I bring a feeling, say hello. Hi, wonderful feeling. Goodbye, morose. Goodbye, wonderful feeling. Hello, sadness. But we got to be willing to say goodbye to get a hello. The Beatles said it. You say goodbye and I say hello. Well, we got to be able to willing to do that within ourselves. And as silly as I may be sometimes in the way I explain things and trying to bring the Jesus story into it metaphysically so that we know that within ourselves there's betrayals going on because somebody's going to be betrayed, be it my anxiety or my brilliance. Hey, Mark, can you go do this stupid nonsensical thing? What? You smart people out there. Sometimes smart people don't want to look silly. It betrays their brilliance. Bull crap. That's fear talking. Be more brilliant in your zaniness. Bring your brilliance to your silliness. Let yourself be the clown. But that sometimes for some people to let themselves be that, they're betraying another part of themselves. So I'm saying, okay, recognize that betrayal. Don't make it as heavy. You're not going on a cross. Don't equal it to that story. And understand that in essence, a little bit of you did go there for a moment just so you can pop out of the illusion of dying, because you'll resurrect again and you'll get to be brilliant in the morning. Some people say, you know what, I've been so busy this weekend or this week at work, had to use my mind. All I want to do is go out and get drunk. And, I honor that for that moment for them. If they do it too much, and then, the addictions and stuff come on hand. But my point is, like, be it drunk off alcohol, drunk off life, drunk off comedy. Go watch a bunch of whatever floats your boat. Abbott and Costello, Three Stooges, George Carlin, whatever floats your boat. Get drunk off something. Doesn't have to be alcohol, because then you can drive too, and nobody gets hurt. But the point is, I had to say goodbye to a certain amount of sobriety to get into nonsense, to give me the energy to get back to my sobriety and be brilliant. No one has to be betrayed in it. All we have to do is say, see ya later. Not you're gone forever. Well, I was a poor boy and now I want to be rich. Great, be rich. Bring the poor boy with you. He's been poor. He's going to enjoy being rich. Why do we want to kill the poor kid? You were poor. Now I am here. I am the rich guy. Yeah, but without all the memories and all the wonders that poor kid bring, so that when you go into the poor neighborhood, you can go, here, have some. Sorry for spitting on it. I have plenty. We don't have to be poor anymore. We can be real within ourselves. We could be abundant. We can all be rich. But I had to say hello and goodbye to the poor guy all at the same time. And he may even be feeling betrayed, because these flip-flops that I've had since I was 7, I had big feet at 7, I have to say goodbye to now that we're rich. And these raggedy old flip-flops have been with me forever. I can't betray them. There's no way. I must stay poor. And I'm like, whew, let them go. Say goodbye. Buy a new pair of flip-flops, or go barefoot, or whatever you want. But you got to say goodbye to that if you want to say hello to those other things. So sometimes the goodbye is goodbye. See you in another life. I'll see you when you get recycled and become somebody else's new shoes, and I'll recognize you energetically. You get that cosmic if you want. Because if we really get that cosmic and truly own that, you will. Wow, that used to be my bed when I was 7. You know what? That's a perfect way to close. So think about this. Think about what we're going through, what we're walking into as we come into Easter with what we know about the solstice, the equinoxes, the spring beginnings, Esther and the pagan rituals, the story of our brother Jesus and everything that encompasses, and the journey we're on right now and everything that we've just said goodbye to. I think New Year's is the way our Judeo-Christian society is. This should be New Year's. Easter should be New Year's. By virtue of what they got going on, they set it up, not me. This should be the new year. So next week, we're going to celebrate all these different things we've been talking about. All these different things we've been talking about with the realities that we want, the past lives, the present lives, celebrating the you and me, knowing that dimensions of it are all right now, and my incarnation is you just as much as it is me, just as much. And to stand in it, and if I want to change, to say goodbye to those aspects of me so that I can say hello to what I want next. Thank you. And now another groovy song by Miss Debbie.